How's everyone doing today? Welcome to week 7. In week 7, we're going to be looking at GDP. And GDP is a little bit confusing because of what we try to calculate. GDP is based off of CIG net exports. And if you look at that, you got consumers, businesses, government spending, and net exports. Net exports is derived of exports minus imports. Now, when we look at GDP, we're going to try to measure it to collect and see how the economy is doing. It's the best measurement we use for our economy and the direction of our economy. There's two ways that we look at it with GDP. It's a national income and product accounts. It's a way to collect data and publish the government's various components. The key to the GDP that we need to look at is it calculating everything that's brought into it? So GDP, the definition, total market value of all final goods and services produced within a given period within a country. So start to break up that definition. You got all final goods and services within a country's border, and it has to be that, well, I should say it this way. Most people get this confused because of the challenges between intermediate and final goods. That's the first distinction. And where is it produced and who's it produced by? So if we look at, let's say, that wine, the production of wine, let's say we need grapes to produce wine. Grapes would not be calculated in the calculation of GDP because it's an intermediate good. It's used to make wine. But wine, the final good, includes the cost of GDP that would go into the calculation. Now, let's say we have a firm in Idaho and they're producing Toyota cars made by all Japanese people in Idaho. That would be included in the U.S. GDP, given that it's within our borders. That's the key part to look at. Doesn't matter who it's produced by, what type of company, it's where is it produced by. Now, this week we have a lot of exclusions. When you look at GDP, you're always excluding things. So GDP excludes used goods and services, household goods and services, illegal transactions, and intermediate goods. So all of these are now calculated in GDP. And that's important to note when we look at GDP. Now, so we look at GDP, that's what each country is producing. Now let's look at GNP. GNP is looking at what each citizen produces. Now, when you look at each citizen, that's a totally different thing. Each citizen doesn't matter where they're at, but it matters for the home country. So let's go back to that example of the Toyota firm with Japanese citizens producing Toyota cars in Idaho. That would be included in U.S. GDP and Japan's GNP because it's made by Japanese citizens. It would not be included in U.S. GNP because no U.S. citizens were used in the production of the goods and services. Now, when you look at GDP in those four components, the largest component of GDP is consumption. They're the largest component, consumers. We make up 70% of our economy. That's a big component and a big connection for our economy. So that's a big thing that people should look at. Now, for this week, I need to bring in some reminders. With the discussion board, a lot of people are struggling on their initial post. The key to the initial post that I need you really to work on is every initial post should have both an in-text citation and a reference in APA formatting to show support for your work. A lot of people are missing that key component there. So make sure to focus on APA formatting with a in-text citation and reference. And really try to connect your work. Find support for that. and answer all parts of the question as well, because a lot of people are struggling with that. And as always, if you want me to pre-grade any of your work, look at your discussion question, just send it early to me. I'll be more than willing to help. But I look forward to your effort this week.